Welcome back to UnKind TV, everyone. I'm Martha, and tonight I will be discussing The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 10 Reunion, Part 2. We open with Kyle in the hot seat. Dorit and Kyle are arguing over when Dorit showed up rather late to Baby Mellencamp's retreat. Kyle spent a lot of time making fun of Dorit for showing up very glam, for putting on a photo shoot while she was there. Dorit says, "Well, Kyle, I felt attacked." Kyle thinks attacked is an extreme way to put it. There is a lot of back and forth, but the bottom line is this. Dorit is voicing that she and the entire group feel that Kyle has a weirdly close relationship with Teddi. Is this going to be the storyline next season? Some sapphic romance between Teddi and Kyle? Please no. Kyle admits that yes, she and Teddi are closer than she is with the other ladies in the group. She says it's because Teddi is a better friend to her, and she doesn't think it's weird that they are very bonded. She doesn't think it's weird that they have shared a bed. And she says she feels like, how can someone like Erica Jane say that she has any real friends if she's never shared a bed with them? And Erica says, well, that just hasn't been my experience. I don't know that I find it strange that Kyle and Teddi have shared a bed. I've shared a bed with my best friends. They're making something out of nothing. On Real Housewives of New York, this is a non-issue. Sonia and Ramona share a bed. They're all waking up in bed together. The things that become a drama lasting an entire season in Beverly Hills are over in 2 minutes on New York. Now it's Dorit versus Kyle. Kyle says that she's extremely hurt by Dorit. She says she thought they were true friends for life until she saw Dorit making fun of her and her fashion line in her interviews. Dorit says, "I never slammed your designs, Kyle. What I did in my confessionals was poke a little fun at your fashion show because you weren't quite prepared." Garcelle jumps in and says, "I just want to point out that Kyle came so hard at me for saying she glazed over me, and you can sit here and hurt her business, and she basically does nothing." Well, this is about me and Kyle right now. Let me finish. The number one phrase so far of this reunion has been, "Let me finish." Kyle keeps saying that she never did anything to hurt Dorit, that she never made fun of her. Dorit points out, well, you went on Watch What Happens Live and you knocked my fashion show and you said it was in a warehouse. And Kyle says, well, I wasn't going to just take all your attacks and not fight back. Then Dorit says, "Kyle, if we're such good friends, why did you blank me? Why didn't you just come to me and tell me you were hurt?" And Kyle says, well, if we were such good friends, then why did you say these things in the first place? And thank God, Andy finally says, let's move forward. How can we move on from this? Dorit wraps it up by saying, "Kyle, I am very, very sorry. God forbid, I never meant to slam your business. I wish you all the success in the world, and I'm always here for you." And now we're rehashing some of the Kyle and Denise conflicts from the season. I love some of the questions Andy asks from viewers. I don't know how he delivers them with a straight face. Eric from Williamsburg wants to know, "Kyle, why do you think Denise is a fake-ass bitch?" Kyle says she felt like all the women were picking on her and it was manufactured, that they were ganging up on her for no reason. And when she called Denise a fake-ass bitch, it wasn't directed at Denise. She meant that they all had fake grievances with her. Denise, how did you feel about being called a ragamuffin? Denise laughs it off. She's like, I thought it was funny. Could I trademark that? Like Casamigos? Kyle says she didn't think ragamuffin was really such a bad thing. She said it comes from childhood, that if you went out with messy hair, her mother would say, don't go out looking like a ragamuffin. She was referring to Denise often having her hair in a sloppy top knot. And she says she apologized to Denise for having said that. And Denise says, well, you apologized after you got backlash on social media. They all get to see the season before we do. But Kyle claims she only watches it a lot of the time when it's airing and she sees it at the same time as everybody else. But Denise seems to think the only reason Kyle apologized was because of Twitter backlash. Now we get into the issue of Rinna's mothering. We are shown the footage of Rinna talking to Amelia about whether her Instagram dancing could have affected Amelia, and Lisa tells her daughter outright, Garcelle seems to think that my Instagram dancing had something to do with your eating disorder. What do you think of that? And Amelia goes, fuck off. Andy says to Garcelle, what's your reaction to that? And Garcelle goes, okay. Rinna says that, of course, anytime your child has difficulties, any parent will question whether they played some part in the development of that difficulty. And Garcelle says she was not trying to shame Lisa. She says, we have been friends for a long time. It was an observation that I made as a friend. I was not looking to call her a bad mother. John Mellencamp's daughter shares about her experience having an eating disorder, and she says that it was a way to cope, that it really had nothing to do with her parents. Eating disorders are not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. There are many factors that go into the development of an eating disorder, whether it's trauma or what you've witnessed growing up, or you're finding a way to cope with chaos, or it's a reaction to being abused. Teddi's experience doesn't change the way I see what Amelia is suffering from. What I really didn't like was that Teddi could have used this moment to just provide some information and some insight as someone who has suffered from an eating disorder, but she takes it and uses it to attack Garcelle. And she says that she feels Garcelle made the whole thing flippant and there was no need to bring it up like it was a little thing and make light of it at the end of the Rome trip. And we all saw that's not what happened with Garcelle. Garcelle had a conversation one-on-one with Lisa about Amelia's eating disorder, and when it was brought up in Rome, there was some editing that went on where we didn't see that Garcelle had opened up about her own struggles with her son, and her son battles addiction, and she wonders if she played a role in that. That puts things in a very different light for me. It's one thing to say, hey, do you think that you're part of your kid's problem? Versus, hey, sometimes I wonder if I played a role in my son developing a problem with addiction. So I'm just wondering, you as a mom to a child who's having mental health difficulties, do you think that you contributed to that? I think this is why Garcelle says, I have no response at all. She seems disgusted, and I think it's because of the edit. I often think it's a cop-out when housewives blame editing, and I don't like to resort to that. But in this one instance, I feel like it really changes the tone of what Garcelle said to Lisa Rinna about Amelia. It takes it from an accusatory, shaming tone to one of mutual concern. It's brought up that Sutton thought Lisa Rinna's Instagram dancing was weird. Sutton is playing that off, and Dorit goes, well, when you said it, you said the word weird with a negative connotation. Okay, Dorit, let's make it a bigger deal than it is. But they do all have a laugh about how it is in fact weird, including Lisa Rinna. She cracks up saying, it is weird, it is. Dorit says, Lisa, if your daughters came to you and said that your Instagram dancing made them feel weird, would you continue to do it? And Lisa says, absolutely not. And y'all don't know what we talk about in our home, so you don't know the discussions we have, and I would never do anything to knowingly hurt them. If you say so. I mean, Rinna claims that her girls have no problem with the Instagram dancing. I personally, this is my prediction, I think when they are in their 30s, this is something they're going to throw in Lisa's face. Wait for it. Lisa Rinna says that right now Amelia is doing really great, that she is making money hand over fist from modeling, she is supporting herself, that she has good days and bad days, and that they're doing whatever they can to support her emotionally, but she's been completely financially independent. I saw a tweet making the observation that Lisa really wants her kids to be Yolanda's kids. She's trying to make Delilah Belle and Amelia Gray into Gigi and Bella Hadid. I see it. And that's no reflection on Rinna's daughters. I think they are lovely. I think they're entitled, like all the Housewives kids, but I think that they're great girls. I just wonder how it affects them when their mother is very obviously taking a page out of the Yolanda Foster playbook. If they show up with Lyme disease, then we know it's true. Andy brings up that Denise looked horrified when Rinna said she was glad her daughters learned about blowjobs from her book. Denise says she's not judging anybody, that they all have different parenting styles. That is not something she has taught to her daughters. Erica jumps in and says the girls really sprung that on Lisa when they were in Tokyo and she didn't see it coming. And Lisa says it was her daughter's friends who found her old book and showed them the part about how to give a BJ. How nice. Now this is a very telling moment. Andy says that viewers noticed that Lisa seemed to be very attention-seeking and putting herself in the middle of everything during her daughter's photo shoot. And Rinna says, that's what I do. I obviously love attention. That's who I am. And there you have it, folks. Like all psychopaths, she is hiding in plain sight. She is a raging narcissist, and everything she does is rooted in that. I obviously love attention. That's what I do. That's who I am. Now we talk about John Mellencamp's daughter and her pregnancy. Her baby, Dove, needs neurosurgery, and I do hope for the best for her baby. Teddi was very emotional because they're showing the footage of when she announced she was pregnant to the group, and the sonogram where you could hear the baby's heartbeat and the gender reveal. And it's hard for her because now she has this precious little girl and she has to think about them performing neurosurgery. That has to be terrifying. And then I am yanked back into the reality of my feelings about John Mellencamp's daughter when she says the way she convinced her husband to name the baby Dove was by showing him that there is a dove emoji. And he was so happy that she'd have her own emoji that he got on board with the name Dove. Imagine choosing a baby name because the baby will have its own emoji. Imagine hearing that. Well, Dove, you got your name because you have your own emoji. Yeah, and your own brand of soap, too. Now we get into some filler. The gist of it is that the ladies didn't show that much consideration to Teddi being pregnant. They often forgot about it and would plan events that were difficult for her. At the same time, they were a little bit neurotic about protecting her. They chalk it up to all having been pregnant a long time ago. And then Andy points out that he has the infamous Lisa Rinna bunny behind him as part of his set. Andy seems to adore her, and I hate to say this, but I think we're stuck with her. He goes on and on. Is this your go-to gift for babies? And they talk about how the bunny is not even made anymore and whatever. She says she had to give Andy a unicorn for his baby because the bunnies are no longer being manufactured. And he says, well, Lisa, you gave me the greatest gift ever, which was all the housewives dancing on tables for my baby shower. What a nice love fest. But Andy, the viewers do not like Lisa Rinna. Maybe you like her as a friend, maybe you find her entertaining, but she is taking her villain act too far. And if you are going to bring her back, I hope you listen to viewer feedback that when it is this dark, it is not fun to watch. I believe a good chunk of what we see from her is a character she's playing. I believe this is very scripted. Reel it in, because it has gone from somewhat funny and entertaining to gross and off-putting. We learned that Teddi's daughter had an accident where a piece of her finger was amputated by the door. It slammed on her finger, and luckily they were able to recover the piece that got taken off, and she's okay now. And this hit a little close to home because I had the same injury. And unlike Teddi's daughter, they were unable to salvage the little piece of finger. And so I present to you my messed up claw finger. Yes, of course, it has to be this one. You can see the normal one is like this, and this one, yeah, it's like all hooked over because that little piece got taken off. See, like under the padding. So the nail just kind of grows over like a hook. Oh well, when you're not a housewife kid, they don't sew it back on. And unfortunately, my poor mom, I remember this, I was very little. She tried so hard to save the day, and she made the same mistake Teddi made. She put it on ice. Wasn't fixable, but someday maybe I'll have housewife money and I'll get it repaired. Although I kind of like having a claw finger. One of my teachers in school, a teacher, started this nickname and it caught on with the kids. Lobster hands. I find it funny. I wasn't triggered by Teddi's story, I promise. Lobster hands is okay. And now it is time to talk Brandi and Denise. Denise says her text history with Brandi was really her responding once to every 10 messages she received from Brandi. She calls her an acquaintance and says she was indeed very nice to her because she had no reason to be anything other than that. Rinna says, why didn't you just call her in Rome and say, hey, Brandi, why are you saying this stuff? And Denise says, because we're not friends. And Rinna's flipping out. You can't keep lying, Denise. You can't keep doing this. And Denise says, well, you can't keep playing this card. Andy is showing his hand here. He goes from kissing up to Lisa and now kind of taking a side with Denise because he says, Denise, at BravoCon, you said that you were good friends with Brandi. And we see the footage of that, and that's not what she said. She was asked, are you friendly with Brandi? She said, yes, I'm friendly with Brandi. And she said some nice things about her. Saying I'm friendly with someone is very different from so-and-so is my friend. Under different circumstances, I would say, oh, this is just semantics, but this is a big difference. Friendly with you is not, you are my friend. And Denise says again, well, at that point, I had no reason to say anything bad. And Andy says, well, I'm just saying that you did call her a good friend and now you're saying something else. She didn't say that, Andy. And Denise says, I feel like you're trying to discredit me and that's not cool. And Andy says, I'm just showing both sides. And you hear Erica Jane, except Brandi's side. Oh God, and then the demon chorus starts. They're all piping up from their different boxes on the screen. Yeah, where's Brandi? Yeah, where's Brandi? Where's Brandi? Yeah, where is Brandi? Where's Brandi? How come Brandi's not here? And Denise goes, yeah, where is Brandi? I kind of like that she's trolling them a little bit because Denise knows damn well that she fought to not have to see Brandi there, but she's giving it back to them. The way they jump on her. Where's Brandi? Where's Brandi? Yeah, where is Brandi to tell her side of this? I'm glad Denise poked back at them. Yeah, where is she? I don't know. You tell me. Rinna goes, this is bullshit. Brandi should be here to be talking about this with you. And Denise says, why should she be here? She's not part of our show. She's not part of this group. And Andy says, well, she is part of the show because, well, we're all talking about her. John Mellencamp's daughter says, Brandi's not here because Denise runs from the truth. Just like she didn't tell me she didn't like me. And Garcelle says, well, she did tell you she didn't like you. Denise says she didn't want to give Brandi the satisfaction of discussing this during the reunion. And it seems like Andy wants to take Denise down a peg and take the power away from her. So he explains the conversation we had at Bravo, fucking Bravo, was that after Brandi said, I licked her clit, I'm sorry to use that language, but that is Brandi Glanville for you. So thank you, Brandi. After she said that, what more was there for her to really say? So I guess between Denise's legal threats, Brandi being a loose cannon, and yes, she has said all that she could possibly say in the most graphic possible terms. What was the point? I think the reason they didn't bring Brandi on is because they got really mad about Denise fighting back. And the truth is that Brandi lately, in her appearances on Watch What Happens Live or on podcasts, has contradicted herself. There are inconsistencies in her story. I'm not saying I think she made the whole thing up, but she's not quite all there. She slips up a lot. She's not sharp. And I think Andy thought Brandi being there would have discredited the story more than it would have helped them gang up on Denise. I think it would have made Denise look better, because Denise would have been able to hold her own much better than Brandi could. Denise says, you guys don't know the things that Brandi has been saying to me, and they are very inappropriate and they are harassment. I would love to see those messages. I cannot even imagine the things Brandi has been texting Denise. Dorit says, if I were in Denise's shoes, I wouldn't want Brandi here either. I mean, I wouldn't want to have to look at her on this Zoom thing. And Lisa Rinna goes, well, then you shouldn't have done it. Done what, Lisa? Done what? Whatever it is you did with Brandi. Excuse me. Just a second here. If Denise slept with Brandi, which is her prerogative, it was obviously with the expectation that it was a private matter that would have been kept between them. Clearly, Denise did not anticipate that Brandi would take their private, intimate encounter and broadcast it on national television with the intention of clawing her way back onto the show. So to say you shouldn't have done it is ridiculous. I think most people, when they decide to have sex with someone, don't think that's going to end up on national television for the whole world to know. And yes, that includes people who participate in reality TV shows. This happened in their private time, off the cameras, when they were not filming. Dorit says, Denise, I believe you. I do believe you. I have no reason not to believe you. But there are little bits that hurt your credibility, like when you say that Brandi has claimed to have slept with someone and you won't say who it is. And we get the demon chorus again. Who is it? Who was it? Say it, say it, say it, say it. Denise says Brandi claimed to have slept with one of the women currently present and other people that they all know. And she's not going to go there. I don't know why. I don't really have an opinion as to whether she should or should not. My guess would be she's trying to get out of this and she doesn't want to mire herself in any more drama having to do with Brandi, so she's making the wise choice to just keep her mouth shut. Andy asks Denise, is it true that you were talking shit about the group to Brandi? And Denise cops to the things she said. She says, yeah, I said Teddi was a shitster. I said, Erica, I thought you were condescending. And actually, Brandi said, Rinna turned on you as a friend, and I said I didn't think you had, and that's about it. John Mellencamp's daughter says, but you said in your confessional that there were far worse things you said about me than what Brandi said. So what were those things? And Denise goes, according to who, Brandi? And they all pounce on her. We just heard you in your confessional. They just played it. You said that. You said that. I think Denise gets nervous. And in the moment, she was like, wait, what did I say about you? I think it didn't register with her that they were talking about the confessional. They could have said, we're referring to what you said in your own confessional, which was just played, where you said, I said far worse things about Teddi. We don't need the histrionic behavior. We just heard you. You just heard in your confessional. And she says, you guys are vicious. Yeah, they are. We end with Lisa Rinna saying, seems like the cover-up's worse than the crime. And that bothers me because there is no crime. Are you implying that it's a crime for two women to sleep together in a consensual encounter? There was no crime, and that's why this is not a cover-up. Do I think Denise is lying to protect herself and her family? Yes, I do. And I think she has every right to do that because I don't think there's a crime. I don't think this is like Puppygate where it's, ooh, who covered up, leaking something really damaging to Dorit, right? Leaking that she abandoned a dog at a kill shelter is extremely damaging. There's no salacious crime here. Denise electing to have sex with Brandi on her private time is nobody's goddamn business. And I resent Lisa Rinna referring to that as a crime to be covered up. What Denise is doing, in my opinion, is damage control because she did not see this coming. She slept with a snake, she got bitten, and now she's trying to do damage control. Okay, Lisa Rinna, Denise Richards is not Richard Nixon. Taking a trip to Lake Lickapussy with Brandi is not Watergate. Sometimes I love a heterosexual male perspective on these shows, and it just, for some reason, amuses me when they get into the drama. I listened to Howard Stern, and Howard Stern was into this whole storyline, and he says, yeah, I think Denise is lying, but she's got that husband. And you know what? Brandi should be grateful. Denise is really hot, and she performed cunnilingus on Brandi Glanville. That's a dream come true. Brandi should have just been grateful and kept her mouth shut. I agree, Howard. But that's where we left off. I'm looking forward to part 3. That's when they get into Denise threatening to show Lisa Rinna's text messages and Kyle's text messages. That seems juicy. Thanks so much for watching. As always, I love to hear from you, so let me know in the comments what you thought of part 2 of the reunion. Remember to give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't. You can follow UnKind TV on Instagram and Twitter. I will be back to discuss the Real Housewives of New York City reunion part 1, and of course, I will be covering the final installment in the Beverly Hills reunion. If you're looking for more ways to support UnKind TV or other information, you can find that in the description box below every video. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Bye.